Next up, Little House on the Prairie. This family's returning to the small screen.
Honey, one of the biggest mistakes that people make is trying to change themselves so that somebody else will like them.
Think you already know everything about Little House on the Prairie? Its lessons of love, selflessness, and family bonds? Then prepare for a truth that's far darker and more painful. The beloved actors who once captured your heart faced endings that were anything but fairy tales. One passed away in secrecy, surrounded by rumors about gender. Another lost their life to AIDS, enduring the weight of stigma. And one's journey was tragically cut short just as fame began to bloom. Today, for the first time, we reveal the heartbreaking realities behind those cherished roles. Michael Landon as Charles Ingalls. Michael Landon was born on October 31st, 1936 in New York, and rose to television stardom when he took on the role of Charles Ingalls in Little House on the Prairie in 1974 at the age of 38. With his portrayal of a kind, dependable father, Landon captured the hearts of millions and earned the title of America's TV dad for nearly a decade. Tragically, his life was cut short on July 1st, 1991, when he died from pancreatic cancer at just 54 years old. The diagnosis had come only months earlier during a ski trip, sending shockwaves through Hollywood. Landon passed away at his Malibu home with his new wife by his side, leaving behind an estimated net worth of $40 million. Behind the warm smile of Charles Ingalls, however, was a private life marked by controversy. In the early 1980s, at the height of Little House's success, Landon's marriage to his second wife, Lynn, unraveled in a highly publicized divorce. Actress Karen Grassle, who played his on-screen wife, recalled that he often made inappropriate remarks on set, even boasting about his revived sex life during makeup sessions. At first, these seemed like awkward attempts at humor. But then a scandal broke. Landon was having an affair with Cindy Clerico, the 18-year-old stand-in for young actress Melissa Francis. The revelation drained morale on set and tarnished his wholesome image. Friends of the family said Lynn, who had long hosted Christmas parties alone while Landon stayed in his office playing cards, pieced together the truth and caught him meeting Cindy in secret. Rumors swirled in the press that Lynn, in a fit of anger, threw a vodka bottle at him. Landon married Cindy in 1983, hoping to start anew, but the scandal left deep scars. Katherine McGregor, a longtime co-star, refused to return for the 1984 series finale, not because she was living in India, as gossip suggested, but because she had grown weary of what she saw as his disrespect toward women. Behind the charm, talent, and decades of television success lay a far more complicated reality, one of mistakes, betrayals, and broken relationships, making Michael Landon's story as heartbreaking as it was legendary. Melissa Gilbert as Laura Ingalls. Melissa Gilbert was born on May 8, 1964, in Los Angeles, California. At just 10 years old, she captured the hearts of audiences worldwide as Laura Ingalls Wilder in the beloved series Little House on the Prairie. With her bright eyes and curly brown hair, she became an emblem of 1970s Americana, a symbol of innocence, hope, and the triumph of love and morality. As of 2025, Melissa Gilbert is 61 years old and resides in a modest home in the Catskill Mountains with her third husband, actor Timothy Busfield. While she no longer appears regularly on television, she continues to write books and occasionally acts in theater. Her net worth is estimated at around $500,000, a modest sum compared to the fame of her childhood stardom. Behind the wholesome image of Laura Ingalls Wilder, however, Gilbert endured personal struggles that few knew about. She experienced 2 failed marriages, battled periods of alcoholism, and suffered a secret spinal injury that forced her to confront both physical and emotional pain. At times, she admitted, she no longer recognized herself, feeling trapped by the expectations of a public that demanded she remain the perfect country girl forever. Yet amid the challenges, Melissa found resilience. Her work in projects like Choices of the Heart in 1983 allowed her to explore complex roles and reclaim her own narrative. Meeting Timothy Busfield marked a turning point, grounding her in a life far removed from Hollywood's red carpets. One of simplicity, backyard chickens, and quiet contentment. Today, Melissa Gilbert embodies a balance few achieve: the wisdom to navigate real pain, the courage to embrace imperfection, and the joy of living life on her own terms. Katherine McGregor as Harriet Olsen. Katherine McGregor, born Dory Dean McGregor on January 12, 1925, in Glendale, California, became a memorable figure in American television when she took on the role of Harriet Olsen in Little House on the Prairie in 1974 at the age of 49. As the sharp-tongued, gossip-loving shopkeeper, she brought both humor and a delightful edge to a series otherwise filled with warmth and moral lessons. McGregor passed away on November 13, 2018, in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles, at the age of 93, leaving behind an estimated net worth of $2 million. Unlike many of her co-stars who pursued continued fame, she stepped away from the spotlight after the series ended, devoting her time to local theater, teaching acting to children, and practicing Hinduism. When the cast reunited in 1984 to film the show's finale, she declined to participate. Contrary to rumors that she was in India, her absence was rooted in far deeper reasons. McGregor had grown emotionally weary of the overwhelmingly masculine atmosphere on set. Both she and Melissa Gilbert recalled that Michael Landon, the show's leading force, frequently made crude sexual jokes before filming, offhand remarks about bodies or lighthearted tales about bee pollen restoring youth that clashed with her sensibilities. Trained as a serious theater actress, McGregor disliked having her focus disrupted by such humor, especially when preparing for a role she treated as a layered antagonist, not just comic relief. Her disillusionment worsened when news broke of Landon's affair with Cindy Clerico, an 18-year-old makeup artist. To McGregor, this was more than a breach of personal morals. It was the collapse of the artistic integrity she valued. She had been close to Landon's then-wife, Lynn, and witnessed the fallout firsthand. The atmosphere changed even more when Cindy, now Landon's wife, returned to the set in a shiny Porsche, a symbol of how the once family-like spirit of the crew had dissolved. Unable to recapture the camaraderie and artistic respect she once cherished, McGregor quietly walked away from television. She refused the final episode, choosing instead a life devoted to spirituality, small theater, and inner peace, protecting herself from the emotional cost of fame. Richard Bull as Nells Olsen. Richard William Bull was born on June 26, 1924, in Zion, Illinois. In 1974, at the age of 49, he stepped into the role of Nells Olsen, the mild-mannered, endlessly patient husband of the demanding Harriet, in the hit series Little House on the Prairie. Though Nells was neither loud nor flashy, Bull's portrayal won audiences over as a steady, calm father figure in an often chaotic world. Bull passed away on February 3, 2014, in Calabasas, California, from complications of pneumonia at the age of 89. In his final years, he lived with his wife, actress Barbara Collington, at the Motion Picture and Television Fund home. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at about $1.50 million, modest, but a testament to a steady and respectable career. Little House became an unexpected turning point in his life. In a rare interview, Bull revealed that the role of Nells was originally intended to last only a few episodes. But after a short conversation with Michael Landon, the show's director and star, he was stunned to be offered a 7-year contract. For a stage actor accustomed to small roles, the news was both thrilling and daunting. Yet fame came with its own quiet burdens. Bull admitted that remaining in the role for so many years, despite the love from fans, sometimes left him feeling confined to a single image. A deeply private man who preferred the intimacy of theater over the glare of television, he often found the expectations of fame uncomfortable. After Little House ended, Bull continued to work with Landon on Highway to Heaven, proof of their lasting professional friendship. But he kept his personal life away from Hollywood's spotlight, ultimately spending his last years among fellow aging artists. In the end, his greatest legacy was not in grandeur or scandal, but in the simple, steady dignity he brought to his craft and to the audiences who cherished him. Victor French. As Isaiah Edwards, Victor Edwin French was born on December 4, 1934, in California. In 1974, at the age of 40, he joined Little House on the Prairie as Isaiah Edwards, a rugged, hard-drinking man with a tender heart. With his straw hat, thick beard, and effortless acting style, French became the show's second soul, walking side by side with Michael Landon in one of television's most genuine artistic friendships. Tragically, French passed away on June 15, 1989, in Los Angeles, just 3 months after being diagnosed with lung cancer. He was 54 years old, leaving behind 3 children and an enduring legacy. Yet, according to co-star Karen Grassle, Michael Landon privately claimed French hadn't truly died from cancer, but from alcohol, bluntly saying he drank himself to death. That remark stripped away the final layer, revealing a painful truth about the personal battles French kept hidden. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at $2 million. What many don't know is that Mr. Edwards, the role most closely associated with French, almost never happened. NBC initially rejected Landon's suggestion to cast him, arguing he wasn't handsome or well-known enough. Landon refused to back down, famously saying, "I don't need a movie face, I need a real heart." And he was right. Before Little House, French was often typecast as a villain in shows like Gunsmoke and Bonanza. But as Mr. Edwards, he became more than just a character. He was a surrogate father, a loyal friend, and a symbol of compassion on the harsh prairie. Behind the scenes, however, French endured 2 failed marriages and a long struggle with alcoholism. Being a great supporting actor often meant living in someone else's shadow, and that weight stayed with him. It wasn't until he took on the role of Mark Gordon in Highway to Heaven that French felt truly content. "I'm working with the man I love," he said of Landon, and in the end, that deep, unshakable friendship may have been the greatest and most beautiful part of Victor French's life. Kevin Hagen as Dr. Hyram Baker. Kevin Hagen was born on April 3, 1928 in Chicago, Illinois. In 1974, at the age of 46, he won the hearts of millions as Dr. Hyram Baker on Little House on the Prairie, the quiet, devoted town doctor who always put the lives of others before his own. With his black leather bag, kind eyes, and gentle voice, Hagen became the embodiment of the frontier healer, a figure of compassion amid the harsh realities of pioneer life. He passed away on July 9, 2005 in Grants Pass, Oregon, after a battle with esophageal cancer at the age of 77. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at around $1 million, a modest sum reflecting a steady, humble career, free from scandal and self-promotion. What the public didn't know was that his illness was intertwined with years of emotional strain and quiet despair. In a letter to a close friend, revealed only after his passing, Hagen wrote that he believed his cancer did not begin in the body, but in the soul. Typecast for much of his career in supporting roles, he often felt overlooked, valued only as a tool to advance a story rather than as a central presence. This long-standing sense of invisibility left him questioning his own worth in the artistic world. Perhaps the most controversial part of his story was his choice to refuse chemotherapy after his 2004 diagnosis. In one of his final interviews, Hagen said he was not afraid of death, only of living with nothing left to offer. While some in the medical community viewed this as surrender, many fans saw it as a final act of dignity from a man who had spent his life giving to others. In the end, Kevin Hagen quietly accepted his place in the background, living and working without demanding the spotlight. And when his time came, he left as he had lived, with quiet grace, on his own terms. Dabbs Greer as Reverend Robert Alden. Robert William Dabbs Greer was born on April 2, 1917, in Fairview, Missouri. Though he began acting in films as early as 1938, it wasn't until 1974, at the age of 57, that he left a lasting impression on television audiences with his role as Reverend Robert Alden in Little House on the Prairie. As the kind, patient, and compassionate pastor, Greer guided viewers through the series' most significant moments: weddings, baptisms, and funerals, becoming a quiet moral anchor for the community of Walnut Grove. Greer passed away on April 28, 2007, in Pasadena, California, due to complications from heart and kidney failure. He was 90 years old and was buried in his hometown of Missouri. At the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at around $800,000, a modest sum given a career spanning nearly 7 decades and hundreds of roles. Never married and without children, his life was as understated as the characters he portrayed. Yet behind the gentle presence of Reverend Alden was a professional frustration he rarely spoke of. In a late 1990s interview with a local newspaper, he revealed, "On a crew like Little House, I was the only one without a fixed shooting schedule. They only called when there was a wedding or a funeral." While seemingly lighthearted, the comment hinted at a quiet injustice. Though he delivered the blessings for the series' most memorable moments, he remained largely peripheral to the main narrative. As Michael Landon, Karen Grassle, and Melissa Gilbert became household names, Greer often appeared on screen for just a few minutes before quietly disappearing. In some cases, he was reportedly cut from episodes altogether despite arriving on set. One production insider recalled, "There were days when he sat in the makeup room all morning just to say one line, 'Amen.'" It was Greer's patience and humility that earned him the respect of his colleagues, but also the reason he became, in many eyes, a professional, forgotten man. His story embodies the shared experience of countless supporting actors, the quiet brilliance of their work often overshadowed by the fame of others, yet essential to the soul of every story they helped tell. Hersha Parody as Alice Garvey. Hersha Parody was born on May 25, 1945, in Prairie, Ohio. She captured the hearts of television audiences in 1977, at age 32, when she took on the role of Alice Garvey, the gentle wife and devoted mother, in Little House on the Prairie. Her character became one of the most tragic figures in the series, forever remembered for a haunting, heartbreaking exit that left an indelible mark on viewers. Hersha Parody passed away on August 23, 2023, in Norfolk, Virginia at the age of 78. The cause was a brain tumor, an illness that left her dependent on her family's care during her final years. Her son, Jonathan Peverell, shared that she declined quickly and passed away in the arms of her loved ones. Though she never achieved A-list fame, Parody's net worth at the time of her death was estimated at around $200,000, largely from royalties from her classic television work. What etched her name into television history was the shocking on-screen death of Alice Garvey. In a 1980 episode, her character perished while trying to save a child from a fire, a devastating scene many critics called unnecessarily cruel for such a virtuous character. Rumors circulated that director Michael Landon pushed the storyline toward tragedy to boost ratings, despite Parody's discomfort with the decision. The impact was so intense that viewers blurred the line between fiction and reality, and Parody herself faced harassing phone calls and misplaced blame, as though she had personally committed some wrong. The experience nearly drove her away from acting. Though she had earlier roles in Mannix and the Waltons, she largely disappeared from the spotlight after Little House. Her few public appearances included a 2005 fan convention where she declined interviews and simply smiled as she signed autographs. Many believe Hersha Parody carried those emotional scars for the rest of her life, forever bound in the public's memory to Alice Garvey, the woman who burned to death on screen and whose tragic fate haunted not just the viewers, but the actress who brought her to life. Shannon Doherty as Jenny Wilder. Shannon Doherty was born on April 12, 1971, in Memphis, Tennessee. She joined Little House on the Prairie in 1982 at just 11 years old, portraying Jenny Wilder, the orphan niece of Almanzo and Laura Ingalls Wilder, in the show's final season. Even at a young age, her bright eyes and emotionally mature performance captured the attention of viewers. Shannon Doherty passed away on July 13, 2024, at the age of 53, after a long battle with stage 4 breast cancer that had metastasized to her bones and brain. She spent her final moments surrounded by family, loved ones, and her cherished dog, Bowie. At the time of her death, her net worth was estimated at around $5 million, accumulated from iconic roles in Beverly Hills, 90210, and Charmed. Her career, however, was far from smooth. In the 1990s, Doherty earned a reputation as Hollywood's bad girl due to numerous on-set controversies. During Beverly Hills 90210, she frequently clashed with co-stars, arrived late, and occasionally missed shoots altogether. Rumors of a diva attitude and volatile temper ultimately led to her being fired after 4 seasons. Yet it was precisely this rebellious spirit that cemented her as an emblem of bold, untamed characters, inspiring a generation of American teens. In early 2015, Doherty was diagnosed with breast cancer. Unlike many who chose to fight in private, she shared her journey openly, documenting chemotherapy sessions, hair loss, and even performing on camera with a shaved head. When the cancer returned and metastasized, she continued her fight, undergoing brain surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation, all while maintaining hope. She stated candidly, "If you ask, why me? I'll answer, why not me?" Shannon Doherty's story evolved from that of a rebellious starlet into a compassionate advocate, transforming her personal struggle into a mission to raise awareness about cancer and inspire others facing similar battles. Carl Swinson as Lars Hansen. Carl Swinson was born on July 23, 1908, in Brooklyn, New York. He joined Little House on the Prairie in 1974 at the age of 66, portraying Lars Hansen, the warm-hearted Swedish carpenter who founded Walnut Grove and served as its first mayor. With his gentle demeanor and resonant voice, Swinson brought the character to life as a moral and spiritual anchor for the community. On October 8, 1978, in Torrington, Connecticut, Swinson passed away from a sudden heart attack at the age of 70, just days after filming his final scene for Little House. The timing stunned the cast and crew, as the death of Lars Hansen had just been captured on screen, making it feel as though fate had written both endings at once. He was laid to rest in a private ceremony at Center Cemetery in Connecticut. At the time of his passing, Swinson's net worth was estimated at around $800,000, a modest figure for a career spanning more than 4 decades. Yet one rich in artistry and the admiration of his peers. The uncanny parallel between the fictional and real-life deaths became one of 1970s Hollywood's most haunting behind-the-scenes stories. Just days before his passing, Swinson filmed the scene where Lars Hansen dies in Charles Ingalls' arms. Some crew members recalled him saying cryptic phrases like, "I've lived enough of Lars' life. Now it's time for me to rest." In hindsight, those words sounded eerily like a prophecy. For many fans, his death felt like the ultimate example of an actor becoming so immersed in a role that the line between fiction and reality disappeared. To those who believe in the curse of a role, Carl Swinson's story remains one of its most poignant and unsettling proofs. The cast of Little House on the Prairie may have long left the peaceful fields of Walnut Grove, but their stories and memories continue to live on in the hearts of fans. What struck you the most after discovering the truths behind their lives? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to follow for more behind-the-scenes revelations from your favorite classic television shows.